Hey guys, welcome to Associate Tribe. If you're new to the channel, each Tuesday we release videos for young lawyers, aspiring lawyers on how to develop legal skills, improve your legal career, and generally navigate the world of lawyers and law firms. But today I'm going to take less of a tutorialistic approach and more of a storytelling approach to talk about how I decided to become a lawyer. So hopefully that resonates with you. It gives you a little bit more insight into the process and also how the decision can be made. Of course, there's millions of lawyers out there. This is just one story among all of them. But I hope that you guys take something from it, and I hope it helps you on your own decision-making path and process. I've been a practicing attorney now for 7 years, so we'll go back to 2004 when this story started, which was my first year of college, and I was trying to decide what to major in. And at the time, I didn't know anything about lawyers. I had never met a lawyer as far as I knew. I didn't know really what they did. I didn't really give any thought to them. The only exposure I had to lawyers at that time was probably Legally Blonde and My Cousin Vinny, because those movies are amazing classics.
What, like it's hard?
But other than that, I didn't know anything about it. But I did need to choose a major, and so I wound up choosing poli-sci more because I was not affirmatively interested in anything else that I could identify, and I was marginally interested in politics and political history. So I wound up going with poli-sci, and I remember at the end of that first semester, I went to my career counselor and I asked her if I could change possibly, hypothetically, to international business. And that was the only other major I was sort of kind of interested in at that time, and more interested in the international aspect than the business aspect. But she essentially shot that down and said, well, no, I mean, yes, you can transfer to the School of International Business, but you won't get any credit for the classes you took this semester. So I said, forget that, I'll stick with poli-sci. And that's what I wound up doing. And then she gave me one of the pieces of advice that wound up actually, I think, shaping my career and my life up until today, which was, okay, you're a political science major, why don't you go and try to get an internship at the state capitol, at the legislative session that's going to start in January. And I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about the legislature or public policy, but I followed her advice and I wound up applying for and getting an internship in the state legislature. And I had an absolute blast at that job. I loved it. I loved the energy and the enthusiasm and the high stakes and the long hours and the work everybody was putting in and the passion that people brought to the causes that they were fighting for. And this was also the first time that I had interacted with lawyers. So a lot of the members of the House of Representatives and of the Senate were lawyers themselves, and then a lot of members of their staffs. So chiefs of staffs, legislative directors, policy analysts, a lot of those people were also lawyers. And so that was the first time that I had ever been exposed to the idea or the possibility that these were the types of jobs that lawyers could get. So I wound up working with the legislature for 1.5 years. So now we're in the summer of after my sophomore year and before my junior year. And I took the summer off to participate in a program with the organization Amigos de las Americas, which I don't actually remember how I found them or how I got into contact with them. All I remember is that they came to one of our Spanish classes in high school, and I think I rediscovered them in college after starting to take Spanish classes. I wound up looking at the different programs they had, the different locations, the different focuses of the projects, and I chose the one that was the only one that got me back to school in time to start 2-a-days with the volleyball team, which I was a part of. And so that wound up being Chinandega, Nicaragua, or more accurately, 3 hours from Chinandega, Nicaragua, on the coast of the Pacific Ocean, which might sound like it would be wonderful and relaxing and pleasant, but it was none of those things. It was hot, it was sweaty, it was sticky, full of mosquitoes, no AC, no electricity. It was miserable. And the project itself was hard labor. It was literally making stoves out of a mixture of mud and manure and creating structures to pack that mixture in. And it took me a while to fully appreciate what had happened in the entire program. But upon reflection, I really, really enjoyed being able to help them in that very small way. And I think without even consciously realizing it, sort of the combination of what I had seen people do in politics and in public policy, and then sort of having that first sort of service experience made my mind up for me that I was, going to go ahead and go to law school and see if there was a way that I too could make a difference in someone's life or a group of people's lives or somehow make an impact. And I thought that going to law school would be a really viable way and real way to do that. And so that was the beginning of my junior year. So I signed up for an LSAT class in January, so second semester of my junior year. And the LSAT class was going to last approximately 6 months because I was taking the LSAT in July. And it was an awesome class. It was really intense. There were a lot of hours put in. And it was actually called Test Prep Guy, which I'm going to link below. If any of you guys are in the Austin area, it's an amazing company. But aside from the plug, it was a really tough 6 months. It was a lot of studying, a lot of hours. And as you start taking your practice exams, you'll get an idea for the scores that you're getting. So kind of where you're falling. It's a scaled score of 0 to 180. 180 of course being the best, and I was shooting at the time for a 165, which puts you in the 90th percentile of the test takers for that particular test. Even though as I got to know sort of the different schools and looking at the different rankings to get into a T14 school or a top 14 law school in the country, you would generally need to get 170 or above. And you can actually look up the median LSAT scores and the median GPAs for all the different schools online, so you can get an idea of what the incoming class for this year, for the past years has been, to see if you're competitive with those scores. And so I was scoring in my practice exam sort of in the mid 160s, so 163 to 167. So I thought that I was, pretty confident going in to get a 165. On the day of the test, I felt fine, I felt good, I felt like I did all right. I got the scores back about a month later and I had gotten a 160, which was significantly lower than what I was hoping for. So I was really disappointed. And at that point, I had to make a decision whether I was going to take the LSAT again. And just sort of as a sidebar, every law school does it a little bit differently. Some law schools, if you take the LSAT twice, will take your higher score. Some schools will average your 2 LSAT scores. But either way, I figured, I do want to go for a higher score. I do want to try again. The only problem was the LSAT is offered about 5 or 6 times a year on very specific dates. And the next date was going to be in September, which was smack dab in the middle of volleyball season for us. And so I had to go and ask my coach if I could have permission to take the test. And so I wound up looking at our schedule for the season, and we were going to be in Arkansas on that day. And so I asked him if I could take the test in the morning and then still play in the match that evening. And he said yes, thankfully. So I did that. I went and took the LSAT on the road, and it was a great decision. I didn't have the most amazing performance on the court that evening. But when I got the results a month later, it was the 165 that I was hoping for. Then I went into looking at what schools that I wanted to apply to. And at the time, I was living in Austin. I was working for the legislature in Austin. My boyfriend at the time was living in Austin. And so it made sense that I was going to apply for University of Texas in Austin. And that was my top school at the time. And then I also applied for several other schools in Texas, and I think a couple other schools out of state. But from long ago, way back, from our parents, we were always taught that a great education with the lowest price tag available is always going to be the best option. So just sort of from a financially conservative perspective, I wasn't really seriously considering going out of state. So I started getting the responses back to the law schools I had applied to, and when I got the letter from University of Texas, I had been waitlisted, which was crushing at the time because Austin was where I wanted to be, and I thought that I was really competitive for that school. And so when I got that letter, I didn't really know what I was going to do. There were the other schools I had gotten into, I had gotten scholarship money from, and I wasn't sure if I should go to those or wait it out for UT. And around that time, I got a letter in the mail from SMU in Dallas about a scholarship opportunity with the Hatton W. Sumner's Foundation. And the foundation I didn't know anything about, but I went online, looked them up, and they were all about the promotion of self-democracy, and independence and activeness in political life. And so I thought, wow, this is perfect for me. You know, I love this stuff. I'm really interested in it. This is what I potentially want to do with my life. And so I wound up applying. A few weeks after going through that entire process of interviewing, I got a response back that said I was chosen for the scholarship. And so it was a complete scholarship, which completely blew me away. And right then I had my answer. I was going to go to SMU, and a few months later, I moved to Dallas. Now, there's so much more to this story about becoming a lawyer, about going through law school, about taking the bar, about applying to a judicial clerkship, about working for a judge, about applying to a law firm, about working for a law firm in New York. And so there's so many steps to this story. So if you guys are interested, I'll make follow-up videos sort of summarizing those experiences to help give you an idea of what the process is like. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Click that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified for the new videos we release every Tuesday. And if you have any questions about applying for law school, about the law school process, about whether you think you should be going to law school, I'm happy to give my insights and my feedback on that. So just leave those in the comment section. And as always, more videos about approaches, tips and tricks, strategies, and advice coming in new videos every Tuesday. So stay tuned for those, and I will see you guys in the next video.